Of our guests of honor, please give a warm welcome to Yang Berbahagia Datuk Dr. Rahmat Bibi Yusof, Director General of the Economic Planning Unit, His Excellency Mr. Vincent Pickett, Ambassador and Head of the EU Delegation to Malaysia, and also Yang Berbahagia Mr. Yogeswaran, Deputy Director General of the Economic Planning Unit. A very warm welcome to the official launching of the Malaysia-EU Coorperation project on sustainable consumption and production, or in short known as SCP, Policy Support Malaysia. Before we begin our event this morning, please allow me to invite Mr. Mohamed Nahar to recite a prayer for today's event.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allah Rabbana faghfir lana dhunubana wa kaffir anna sayyi'atina wa tawaffana ma'al abrar. Our Lord, forgive us our sins, blot out from us our iniquities, and take to yourself our souls in the company of the righteous. O Allah, the order of everything is determined by you, as you have revealed. Innama amruhu iza arada shay'an an yaqula lahu kun fayakun. Verily, when he intends a thing, his command is to be, and it is. Verily, you are the protector, the sustainer, the all-hearing, the all-knowing, the most merciful, and the one who accepts repentance. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina azaban nar. Our Lord, give us good in this world and good in the hereafter, and defend us from the storm of fire. O Allah, provide us the means to achieve a successful conclusion from this gathering. Channel our thoughts clearly and allow us to communicate effectively. Decorate us with the proper conduct so that we humble ourselves with more knowledge. Give us the strength and stamina to fulfill the mandate that is expected from us, and O Allah, reward us for doing so. Allahumma rzuqna fahman nabiyyin wa hifzal mursalin birahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. O Allah, grant us the understanding of the prophets and the memorization power of the messengers, and bless us, for you are the most merciful, most compassionate. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Yang Berbahagia Dr. Rahmat Bibi Yusof, the Director General of the Economic Planning Unit, His Excellency Mr. Vincent Pickett, Ambassador and Head of the EU Delegation to Malaysia, Yang Berbahagia Mr. Yogeswaran, Deputy Director General of the Economic Planning Unit, Excellencies, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. As a brief introduction, this cooperation project, entitled the Malaysia-EU Coorperation Project on Sustainable Consumption and Production, Policy Support Malaysia, is a project funded under the European Union under a Swiss Asia program. It aims to provide policy support to the government of Malaysia, and in order to strengthen its country's sustainable consumption and production institutional policy framework. SCP, in short, is an umbrella term that encompasses all the tools and methodologies supporting sustainable development in manufacturing and consumption of goods and services. Malaysia is making significant progress in creating an institutional and regulatory landscape that is more conducive to sustainable development. In view of the cross-cutting nature of SCP, EPU as the focal point will coordinate efforts across various ministries, agencies, states, and local authorities. Hence, commitments from all stakeholders are vital for successful implementation of SCP. Now, without further ado, we would like to invite His Excellency Mr. Vincent Pickett, Ambassador and Head of the EU Delegation to Malaysia, to deliver his opening remarks. Please welcome.
The Honourable Dr. Rahmat Bibi, Director General of the Economic Planning Unit, Prime Minister's Department, representing Tan Sri Mohamed Yakcop, Minister, Economic Planning Policy Unit in the Department, Dr. Yogeswaran, Deputy Director General of the EPU, Excellencies and other representatives of the EU missions, good development of mission, and greeting particularly the ambassador of Italy. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me thank all the Director General of the EPU for attending today at this joint EPU-EU, almost the same, was one letter difference, EPU-EU launch of the project Sustainable Consumption and Production Policy Support Malaysia. The EU is very, very proud to be cooperating on this topic with the Malaysian government, and in particular with the EPU, but also with various other ministries involved with the greening of the Malaysian economy. For the European Union, sustainable consumption and production is a key policy. It's a topic that derives its importance from the top priority that we attach to combating climate change. You will know that the European Union committed itself to a 20% reduction in our CO2 emissions by the year 2020 compared to the year 1990. We are on track to achieving that. In fact, we're now starting to look beyond 2020 to the year 2050. By 2050, we want to have a low-carbon economy, and a competitive one too. An economy with 80 to 90% fewer emissions compared to the year 1990. And evidently this will involve a major shift to a low-carbon electricity and renewable energy situation. It will also involve a new strategy for resource efficiency, minimizing the use of natural resources while maximizing output. The European Union's Action Plan for Sustainable Consumption and Production sets out a series of measures to make a fundamental change to production practice in the EU. The Action Plan prescribes an integrated approach to resource and material efficiency. It's an approach that considers both demand and supply, that is to say, tackling the way we consume and the way we produce. The approach involves a wide array of measures. To name just a few: eco-design requirements for products, eco-labeling standards, green public procurement, awareness raising among the consumers are the key aspects. The European legislator, that is the Member States and the European Parliament, are pushing this agenda. And European industry, the European consumer, put it into practice. But in fact, what we see is that European industry and the European consumer are often taking the lead in pushing the green frontier further than the legislator prescribes. The EU has worked in this way for decades, and we will continue to do so. Also now, while we face an economic slowdown, or maybe I should say, in fact, especially now, greening our economy, making it more resource efficient and environmentally sustainable is seen as a core component of the strategy to make our economy competitive, to make it create jobs, and to make it grow again. The European economic strategy for this decade, it's called the 2020 strategy, I don't know how we found that name, is very clear on this linkage between economic growth, global competitiveness, and environmental sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, fighting climate change is a top priority for the EU, not just at home. We promote this policy also abroad for the very, very simple reason, and that is that however much the EU will cut its CO2 emissions, it will come to nothing if the rest of the world does not do anything on its side. And of course that concerns especially the fast emerging economies, whether they're large or small. To promote that policy abroad, we follow two tracks. First, the multilateral one. The UN Climate Change Conference hosted in Durban last year delivered what we think is significant progress on the international community's response to climate change. All parties agreed to adopt a universal legal agreement on climate change as soon as possible, and no later than 2015. And we see this as a very important step forward. Another multilateral platform to push the sustainable growth agenda will be this year's Rio+20 UN Conference for Sustainable Development. The EU hopes that the Rio Plus 20 conference can mark the start of a worldwide transition towards a green economy, investing in and preserving natural capital while simultaneously allowing the developing countries to grow their economies. So much for the multilateral track. The second track we follow is bilateral, and that includes our relations with Malaysia, where we try to promote similar goals through practical cooperation activities. Our commitment to Malaysia has led to a growing portfolio of cooperation projects in recent years, especially in the field of sustainable development and environment. This morning, I'm proud to be able to hand over to Madam Director General a compendium of all the projects the EU is financing in Malaysia today. And it is a total volume of no less than 11.5 million euros for bilateral projects alone. And that's about 45 billion ringgit. But let me mention a few examples of those projects. One project I would like to mention is the Biomass Sustainable Production Project for helping Malaysian SMEs to develop sustainable biomass products and to commercialize these, including on the EU market. And the interest among SMEs in Malaysia for this is massive, as was testified by the turnout of no fewer than 600 participants, including many, many firms, at a conference organized by the project coordinator last week. Dr. Leong is sitting over there, and he is the person managing this activity. Another EU-funded project is for the batik industry, and it's called Clean Batik Initiative. It's for the greening of batik, and don't worry, we're not going to paint all batik green. No, it will stay multicolored and arty. But we are intending to help the batik industry become cleaner and safer. Cleaner for the environment and safer for the workers in the batik SMEs. Malaysia, of course, particularly located in Kelantan and Terengganu. In fact, both the biomass project and the Clean Batik Initiative project have set up stands in the back of the room today, and I do hope you will take a few minutes to look around and see what they're doing. A further activity we have is at the business level, where we fund a project for the services sector in order to promote EU-Malaysia business cooperation in environmental services and particularly green technology. It's very successful, operated with the EU-Malaysia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and linked in very closely with the activities of the Ministry of Energy and Green Technology. One example of the thing we've done is to promote participation by European firms in the very large IGEM conference, the International Green Technology Exhibition in Malaysia, where for the past 2 years the EU has had the largest single pavilion of exhibiting companies in a row. Now, all these projects are at the business level, at the company level, but equally we are committed to cooperation at the government-to-government level. And indeed, this is the goal of the Sustainable Consumption and Production Policy Project, which we are launching this morning. The project started in February of this year, prepared by many months of detailed preparation between the EPU and the EU, including with a larger group of stakeholders coming from all parts of the government as well as from industry. Now, with 1.5 million euros, roughly 6 million ringgit, the project will provide know-how to the economic planning unit to lead and promote and draft the sustainable consumption and production policy for the entire government through the development of this national SCP plan. The EPO will be strengthened to this end to become Malaysia's focal point for this topic, and we will also be working with key ministries. For instance, Ministry of Energy, Green Technology and Water on eco-labeling, or with the meeting with Ministry of International Trade and Industry on incentives for SMEs in the area of sustainable production, and with the Ministry of Finance on the topic of the very important topic of green procurement. Moreover, the project will run a few demonstration projects around the country in key economic sectors for Malaysia, such as electronics and tourism. In conclusion, Dr. Director General, ladies and gentlemen, let me repeat that the EU is very honored to be able to work with the Malaysian government on this challenging task of sustainable production and consumption. The challenging task of doing more with less, of creating jobs and growth, not just for now, but also for the future. Thank you, Honourable Dato, for your support, the support of your colleagues in the EPU and in the other involved ministries and agencies involved, that you have the support that you've given to this activity so far. We will make it a success. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Next, we would like to invite Yang Berbahagia, Dr. Rahmat Bibi Yusof, the Director General of the Economic Planning Unit under the Prime Minister's Department, to deliver the official address on behalf of Yang Berhormat Tan Sri Mohamed Yakcop. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and salam satu masuk Malaysia. Thank you to the OMC and His Excellency Ambassador Vincent Piquet, Head of Delegation of the European Union of Malaysia, His Excellency Falco Di Luca Gabrielli, I hope I said your name properly, Ambassador of Italy, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to extend my warm welcome to all of you to the launching of the Malaysia-EU Cooperation Project on Sustainable Consumption and Production, SCP, Policy Support Malaysia. Yang Berhormat Tan Sri Mohamed Yakcop, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, conveys his apologies for not being able to be here this morning to officially launch this project, and as he has to attend to urgent matters. I would therefore be reading his speech. I am indeed honored by the presence of His Excellency Ambassador Vincent and other EU delegates, as well as the distinguished guests from ministries, agencies that will be involved in this project. Sustainable consumption and production has been on international agenda since the introduction of Agenda 21 following the Earth Summit in 1992. The summit identified unsustainable pattern of production and consumption as a major cause of the continued deterioration of the global environment. The 2002 Johannesburg Summit in turn called for a 10-year framework of programs to support of national initiatives to accelerate the shift toward sustainable consumption and production. To develop the framework called for in Johannesburg, the Marrakesh process was launched at an international expert meeting held in Marrakesh, Morocco in 2020. Sorry, I have difficulty this morning to announce the year. Is 2003. The Marrakesh process includes regular global and regional meetings, informal expert task forces, and other initiatives to promote and coordinate effort towards more sustainable consumption and production. As many of you may be aware, the issue of sustainable consumption and production is also part of the draft document, The Future We Want, which is being negotiated for the Rio Plus Summit, which will take place from 20 to 22nd June 2012 in Brazil soon. Basically, the working document reiterates the importance of a member state to build their capacity for resource efficient and inclusive economies in the context of promoting sustainable consumption and production methods. Although sustainable consumption and production has been on the global development agenda for more than 2 decades, the term sustainable consumption and production continues to lend itself to many interpretations. Sustainable consumption and production, in a simple term, is about changing our lifestyle by using resources in a sustainable manner and in a way that minimizes wastage. Sustainable consumption and production is a cross-cutting issue that requires a holistic approach integrating the economic, environmental, and social aspects. Sustainable consumption and production is about promoting wise use of resources and minimization of waste and pollution, use of renewable resources within their capacity for renewal, fuller product life cycles, better quality of life, and intergenerational and intragenerational equity. Malaysia, following the Earth Summit in 1992, initiated measures at a national level to achieve sustainable consumption and production. In the 8th Malaysia Plan 2001-2005, Malaysia introduced a new fuel policy that is from 4-fuel policy to the 5-fuel policy that included the renewable energy. In the third outline perspective plan, a 10-year plan 2001 and 2010, measures were introduced towards achieving sustainable development. It follows with the 9 Malaysia Plan 2006-2010. The government enhanced strengthened the national mission to provide the framework for planning and implementing the country's development strategies toward achieving the Vision 2020. The fourth thrust of the national vision stressed the need to improve the standard and sustainability of our quality of life. The government in this context committed itself to continue to provide basic needs such as water, energy, housing, transformation, and other amenities with greater emphasis on maintenance, upgrading, and more efficient use of resources. The 10 Malaysia Plan 2011 and 2015, which is currently being implemented, focuses on policies and strategies to uplift Malaysia into a high-income and developed nation by 2020. The major thrust of the 10 Malaysia Plan is to achieve sustained growth in the context of better quality of life for all and underpinned by sustainable development. Malaysia Development Agenda is premised on protecting the environmental quality of life and caring for the planet while harnessing economic value from the process. In our pursuit to become a high-income nation, we place high priority on efficient use of resources. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, generally, development planning formulated by Malaysia has been based on a convergence of 3 pillars of sustainable development, i.e. economic, social, and environment. Strong and sustainable economic growth is unsatisfactory if the quality of life for all levels of society does not improve in tandem. To date, Malaysia has introduced several targeted and specific plans to address sustainable consumption and production issues. Among them are the National Policy of Climate Change and the National Green Technology Policy, which were formulated to collectively guide the nation toward addressing climate change holistically, ensuring climate resilient development, developing a low carbon economy, and promoting green technology. Another policy related to sustainable consumption and production is the National Agro-Food Policy. The objective of this policy is to achieve high-value agriculture development through sustainable agriculture practices, private sector investment to modernize the sector, and supported by knowledge and informed human capital. This policy aims at ensuring food supply, develop the agro-food as a viable and sustainable industry, and increase the income of agriculture entrepreneurs. Other sustainable consumption and production related initiatives currently being implemented are the development of a national eco-leveling scheme and standards for our product and services that matches international standard. This would stimulate the market to move to a consumption and production for greener goods and services, which is expected to incrementally influence the consumer behavior to a more environmental conscious decision making. In addition, we have also started another initiative to contribute to sustainable consumption and production, such as the high efficiency star rating, low carbon footprint products, and green building index. I am pleased that this project will further assist Malaysia's aspiration to become sustainable in consumption and production within the context of sustained economic growth accompanied by enhancement in quality of life. This project signifies the cooperation between Malaysia and the European Union under its Switch Asia national facilities by sharing its technical expertise in the area of sustainable consumption and production. This project, I'm sure, will assist EPU to formulate strategies and to coordinate the initiative undertaken by various ministries and agencies in a more holistic and integrated manner. This project, which started in February 2012, will last for the period of 3 years. The result of the project will provide inputs to the formulation of the next Malaysia plan toward achieving an inclusiveness, sustainable, and high-income developed nation by 2020. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my appreciation to European Union for their support through this project. We must use this unique opportunity to further build our capacities and expertise in sustainable consumption and production. Finally, I would like to thank all our guests, especially His Excellency Ambassador Vincent Piquet, for making time to attend this event. Let us work together to ensure that this project is a success and will contribute to better quality of life for present and future generations. With the motto of the project, be responsible, stay sustainable, I officially launched the Malaysia-EU Coorperation project on sustainable consumption and production policy support for Malaysia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dato. I would like to invite Dato to remain on stage and be joined with our fellow guest of honor, His Excellency, and also with us here today. The black film that's in front of the stage is a flexible thin film solar panel. It symbolizes a sustainable way to harness solar energy to power the launching device. Therefore, to activate it, may I invite our guest of honor to activate the device by placing the palm of your hand on the disc. With that, ladies and gentlemen, marks the official launch of the Malaysia-EU Coorperation project on sustainable consumption and production policy support Malaysia. Now, as a sign of kind gesture, there will now be a session of exchange of mementos to mark the significance of the day. First, may I invite His Excellency Mr. Vincent Piquet to present the memento on behalf of the EU delegation to Yang Berbahagia Dato'. And in return, may I now invite Yang Berbahagia Dato' to present the memento on behalf of the Malaysian government to His Excellency. Thank you very much, Yang Berbahagia Dato' and Your Excellency. May I invite our guests of honor to their seats. Ladies and gentlemen, The Project Secretariat has prepared a multimedia presentation for this significant event. Therefore, let us appreciate together on the message captured in the video clip to be shown.
The European Commission's Regional Environment Programme, Switch Asia, aims to promote sustainable consumption and production, SCP, among small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, and consumer groups in Asia. The SCP approach seeks to reconcile the increasing demand for goods and services that respond to basic needs, while minimizing the use of natural resources, toxic materials, and emissions of waste, in order not to jeopardize future needs. The Switch Asia program focuses on development and application of effective economic instruments that enhance SCP, reinforcement and implementation of legal, environmental, and safety instruments, a switch to consumption of products that are less environmentally damaging, increased use of environmental friendly practices by SMEs. The annual demand on resources is continuously growing since the 1970s in an exponential way. It now takes the Earth 1 year and 6 months to regenerate what we use annually. If current population and consumption trends continue, by the 2030s, we will need the equivalent of 2 Earths to support us. Unfortunately, of course, we have only one. The key stakeholders of SCP are the consumers and producers. Both need to know the techniques, for the consumers, how to make buying decisions, and for the producers, how to produce green products. Both parties need the motivation to use these techniques. The policy is the third key stakeholder because policymakers have to provide the framework. The project will focus on assisting the government of Malaysia to strengthen this framework. Current initiatives which are related to SCP are Green Building Index, Reuse, Reduce and Recycle, Eco-Labeling, and Life Cycle Assessment. To develop a national SCP program means planning for the future. Our planning cycle will start with the inventory of existing policies, which will allow to set priority to formulate action plan and to reach an integrated SCP policy framework for Malaysia. The project has 4 components. Each component has 4 results areas need to be achieved, which are National SCP Policy and Organization, strengthen, Sustainable Production, strengthen, Sustainable Consumption, strengthen, SCP benefits demonstrated in production and services sector.
Sustainable consumption and production should help us to achieve sustainable growth and to change our today's unsustainable patterns of consuming and producing goods and services. Sustainable consumption looks at the whole life cycle of products and services, literally from the cradle to the grave. I have here a simple bottle of mineral water which can tell us the story of sustainable consumption and production. This bottle is made from plastic. This plastic is made from petroleum oil. Then it was filled in a refilling station. And then it was brought by retailers to a shop. So we may ask if this has been done in an efficient way, in a sustainable way. Then I went to the shop and I bought this bottle. Maybe I have used a bag. Which kind of bag? Then I have brought this bottle home, put it to an icebox, to a refrigerator. Was this device an energy efficient device? And finally, I emptied this bottle. Should I throw it away? What to do with the bottle? You see, such a simple bottle and such a long story about sustainability. And this is only one part what we are doing in our society. You see that sustainable consumption and production involves many stakeholders, producers, retailers, vendors, consumers, garbage collectors, and so on. All of them have to know how to act responsibly. They need motivation to do this. Maybe there are rules and incentives needed. It is the responsibility of the government to provide a policy framework which enables consumers and producers to act responsible and to stay sustainable. To assist the government of Malaysia to shape this policy framework is the purpose of this project. You are invited to join this journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, marks the end of the ceremony for today. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to express our utmost gratitude for your kind presence to grace and also to participate in the launch. I would now like to invite Yang Berbahagia Datuk and Your Excellency to the holding room where the press conference will be held. The ushers will kindly guide you there.